Welcome to our lovely future humans, our emotionally sovereign and intelligent ones. Those of you who are regulars, you know what that means. If you're new, you don't. And so let me share when you are a nervous system fluent person, you know your edge. So you don't get off track, and that means you don't have a good team and a bad team. So we have no kryptonite, the humans who awaken, because whether mystic, spiritual, or mindful, you actively have this thing called, wait for it, epistemic discipline. And you also have emotional awareness. And so when you're under activation, because you're aware, you don't struggle with it, you work with that charge. It's not a charge that will take over. And so you're not struggling with the steadiness as much as you're having fun navigating those waves. And so with our personality patterns, we are being yourself, you be you, I be me, in good company, under pressure. Yes, so it's not pressure that keeps you down, it's pressure that you are not only uplifted by, but that you expand from. And so being yourself under pressure is really a self-leader, and that's why if you do enjoy journal prompts and day mindset practices, daily ones, pay hip below. There is a link, and Substack will be talking about a lot of these topics in more depth, and there will be the free newsletter as well as those who will then subscribe. There's going to be, I have yet to work it out, but stay tuned. In the meantime, relationships, uncertainty, expansion, and any kind of pressure doesn't actively turn your world upside down. It gives you the opportunity to work with your edge and to be yourself. And so with our human potential, we do everything that is in our power to inspire those. We can't motivate someone to be themselves. And so when someone lacks epistemic discipline and they are emotional reactive, and therefore they fuse their ego with intelligence and think they know that what they think is a fact, it's because they have effective realism. Wait to be weird, what's about it is right, it feels right, and we'll spot them and we'll leave it alone. And with that, I love to let you know, when I think of updating spiritual and science books as an academic at heart and as an academic in mind, I know that the pseudo-intellectuals and spiritual bypassers are very much reactive, and they will not be part of our evolved and expanded community. That's why we're future humans. They will call us names, as the ignorant ones have always done. But ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is also not scary. And while sometimes I get sad for humanity, those who won't meet themselves, and I get mad for the pseudo-intellectuals, I know their role, and I know God's perfection is within every one of his children. In all things of nature, there is something of the marvelous, Aristotle. But not all children want to meet themselves, and that's because they had a shitty upbringing. And so we leave it alone. In the meantime, when I asked Perplexity, does the traditional academia and well-researched information still get valued as good, it said yes, which made me think, oh, thank God. But then it also told me why the shift where it looks like academia isn't as respected has taken place. And yes, our lovely flattened perceived authority comes with those who hang around the pseudo-intellectuals because they want certainty energy, and people who speak we know everything. They want outrage energy, so people who don't know how to forgive or calm their nervous system down, and charisma. And those are all buffoons to those of us who are human in flesh expanding, and spiritual and enlightened ones included. Also, we like how to let you know identity. It stays stable under activation, so you don't lose yourself, and you don't like to be a moron too much. I'm pseudoscience because I respect scientists, but I'm not pseudo-intellectual. And I don't have a shame, blame, fault, or revenge group. I just have the knowledge that ego performs better online than humility. And not really. It's that there's a bunch of blind egos who follow each other around. But those who are humble follow those of us who are humble around. And so we know that information is important. And when we are able to notice what good information is, it's because we have that which is called discernment. And yes, there are pseudo-intellectuals building brands without engaging in real scholarly exchange, as Perplexity let me know, but there are also independent scholars, interdisciplinary thinkers, and public intellectuals who are doing beautiful work outside institutions. I try to contribute. And that's to those of you who know I bring the human, spiritual, and spirituality elements. And so we all know that we will have been raised with specific books and specific stories. We all know how it works when books get edited and updated, and how schools of thought get updated, and how those who want to keep them all in little boxes, they can keep doing that. They're the ones who lack the emotional intelligence skills, and therefore how many people can self-regulate versus live in validation loops? That was my second question to perplexity. And it says emotional intelligence, as popularized by Daniel Goleman, is not uniformly developed across populations. Most adults were not raised with explicit emotional regulation training. Yes, there's a lot of grown human beings. I met them in high school. They weren't grown human beings then, sorry, college, and now. And so in high school, I knew it was the norm to be immature. Now I'm grown and know that those who are immature didn't and don't want to go to therapy to bring their A game on. They don't use journaling or wellness mindset practices to bring their A game on either. They just validate each other with their likes and dislikes. So they create stories. That's why they have kryptonite, and they don't evolve or awaken. And so they're not part of our human species, leaving a legacy behind for the future. They're just going to hang around the ones who are holding the fort for the past, and we know where they will be found. In tribal mentality groups, which is completely, So, social media is going to have, as you noticed, amplify validation seeking behavior, but it isn't that it amplifies it as much as, again, there's a number, I meet them all the time, of people who are in the societal soul age group, by the way, the lower, not lower because it's inferior, but basically the soul age groups that are still learning about themselves, so they've had less lives, if you have to look at it that way. Or humanly speaking, I can just say they have learned bad manners and how to be emotionally reactive towards information. They lack discipline when it comes to noticing that they don't know everything. And so, yeah, they just want validating, seeking groups that say our stories are right, those stories are wrong, and then they don't think of, let's just mingle and tingle with all of stories. And then remember how our books get updated whenever new information comes about, and to not take things personally because they're not dismantling anything. So validation is not actually truth. Truth is that we subjectively learn new things as we move forward into the future, and that if someone doesn't like it, they're not grounded in reality. And those who are sensitive, they can learn to emotionally regulate if they take charge of themselves and learn how to stop thinking of knowledge and information as it needing to fuse with ego and become identity. Yeah, so identity stability, again, under activation, you use your human name, nobody changes your beliefs. If anything, they expand, beliefs get updated, and really that word, it's information. If we have to go and use some different words so people can understand that it's not going to change, in time we find out new piece of information. So society was built based on bunch of people that made up stories of why the sun rose and the moon came out. I'm just saying, and as a mystic and spiritual one, I'm not dismantling or reducing the important relationship we have with Akash, source, anima mundi, God. I'm saying we gave explanations to things, which is why scientists walk the path with spiritual ones of God's perfection. And there's no evil, Knievel, medieval. There's lower frequency, which are the ignorant ones who still watch shitty ass movies, TVs, and a bunch more who say, see, look, emotionally ignorant people. No, they don't do that. They think that's entertainment. I think it's disgusting, but that's just me, because now every time I'm watching anything, I'm like, so they don't have self-regulation at all. They don't have meta-awareness, nervous system literacy. They don't have delayed gratification because actively they fuel it by allowing themselves to support maladaptive patterns of behavior in ways of not moderation. So that's where inner critic, outer critic, drinking, drugging, fucking, supporting drugs in a way that is unnecessary. Leisurely activities are meant to be leisure, not to take off the edge. If you don't know how to work with your edge, that means you're not self-sovereign. Means you're not emotionally sovereign, means you don't know how to handle life, means that dysregulation sends you off your game. Helpless, hopeless, yes, that's the part of where that's not self-awareness, accountability, or regulation. That is, you don't know how to get your ego in check, yourself in check, and then with your very own hand on your heart, do something that is healthy for you. And that's the part of why your edge is not a struggle for those of you who are growing. It's actually opportunity. Every day, micro habits, thought, feeling, process, moving forward. You get that much more steady. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5, and there's your emotional resilience. And that's why we have fun being ourselves under pressure. So you get to keep on learning how to do that, which is flexibility. And so these people, they don't have ego flexibility or the capacity to tolerate discomfort without external soothing. They also don't have the capacity to notice they don't know everything from 10, 20 books of yesterday. And to let's socialize and have a good time with knowledge versus you trying to own it and actually prove yourself. So people who are not operating in high emotional sovereignty states know that no, they don't do anything to change that. We are the ones who don't copy them. That's why mediocre people are not dangerous. So they function, unfortunately, in the trauma validation loops, attachment-driven validation cycles, identity protective cognition, yes, and tribal reinforcement bubbles. Yeah, so they have the capacity, if they wanted to get nervous system sovereignty. They just haven't been trained, modeled, or incentivized towards it. And when they go watch movies and they justify that which is generalization, stereotypes, and ignorance, you think nothing of it except for, I'm going to go hang out with the intellectually smart egos. And that's where we're here for. So besides having fun in our Substack newsletter with those topics of emotional sovereignty, identity stability, underactivation, nervous system fluency, relational integrity, human expansion, you get to hear lived experiences and how this person right here, self-leader, emotional steadiness, underactivation, again and again and again. And it's a funny butthole that you end up having. And thanks to Buddha, I get to keep check, and Jesus, of when I get too irritated. And God, he keeps me in check too, and Holy Spirit, and all of it. And it's amazing. 5D Mystic here in the Enlightenment Soul Age group and beyond. And yes, we do know what words we use, but it's not a label. It's just words to help you understand. Embodying that which is oneness consciousness or Christ consciousness doesn't mean embodying Christ. No, the frequency of love comes with restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating people. And so, is humanity awakening or stagnating? Question number 3. It depends what layer you're looking at. On the surface, polarization, performative outrage, those are performers, yes. Ego wars, yeah, blind ones, not smart ones, obviously, because smart ones don't have wars. Yeah, that's the other part. Smart egos know, okay, one globe, let's try and figure out how to get the children to work it out. Pseudo-intellectual content, yeah. Spiritual bypass trends, yes. And somatic bypass trends. So, the deeper layer, trauma awareness is rising, thank goodness. And therapy is normalized, yes it is. But not everybody believes in it. So, nervous system education is expanding. That's why I share the attachment trauma education. And psychedelic research is reopening with therapy as the ones who walk people through this stuff. Conversations about generational healing increasing. Yeah, generational healing. That's true. You better bet it's not by casting stones. Not in the energy of let me shame you, blame you, fault, and revenge you. So the regression and evolution is happening simultaneously. But really what I'm going to say is that it's a free will choice. Emotionally sovereign or not. And we're going to find out which one. No, we all win. Humans evolve thanks to the natural selection of smart ones. Natural selection, it's not weak that wins. So people who think humans are weak, we're not weak. When we're emotionally sovereign, we're strong because we got courageous, strong, and vulnerable by being curious. And that's why sages laugh. So when Buddha laughs at me, it's because I'm wasting time, precious time, being irritated under activation at morons. And so he'll laugh and Jesus will stare because he's like, hey, I taught you how to forgive. You know the Holy Spirit and God will simply, in his silence, consistently remind me, okay, you already know you're not a know-it-all. And then I got my, obviously, mom who taught me manners, and I got all of the academics, Peter Levine, and everyone's here is like, okay, are you ready to? Yes, I'm ready to keep talking. Okay, I as an academic at heart, and as a mentor, content creator, and podcast host person who says inner growth mindset works, will let you know this is what it looks like to be under activation while also steady and not performing. As I don't perform, I don't hide any of my child parts. They are not shadows to be hidden away. They are all here with me right now. So when you understand that in transitional eras, we will always have authority destabilizing, and that's why people are clinging on. Those who are afraid of chaos, no, those who just don't know how to use their embodied brain. They will lead with the ones who give them, I know everything, because that's how they were also treated, by the way. It's a whole story I'm not going to talk about right now. But inflation of ego identities. So yeah, their group is right. You can tell the red flags are Diego's family from Ice Age. Isolation, calling people names, using labels. You can tell if you're emotionally smart, and if you're just a human who's smart and who has a hand on the heart and says, wow, humans are so much more capable of everything, but these people. So when I say books can get updated, I mean all of them. And while a theologian went about his business saying Reiki is bad, I look forward to the theologian who will say Reiki is not evil energy. This is not evil, demonic, and they will bring science and explanations and say, see, it all fits quite clearly, God's perfection and creation. If there's no mishap, misalignment, there's no hump, there's no missing piece. The only ones who need superheroes and supervillains have a kryptonite, and more than just one. And we'll talk about that in another episode, but you better bet that kryptonite don't come near us because we have an edge. And so it can't bring people who are embodied intelligence to their knees in a way of making us feel helpless, because we're not, or hopeless. I have 2 hands, 2 feet. I have a brain that works, my left, and I have a brain that works, my right, and it's integrated, and I learn from the best of academics. Mwah! And the spiritual ones know God's victory. We're not afraid of his losing. He can't. Nor can Akash, nor can any of it, because creation is perfect for that reason. So people who think we're a mistake, or who don't know how to handle when moments are of change, yes, we all know who they are. And they're the same ones who keep casting stones at each other and who don't notice it's one globe. It's a small world after all. Yes, so you teach children not by preaching, but by showing them what unconditional love is. And we all have flaws and imperfections. You don't need a mask. You don't need to perform. No one's going to be a scary monster. And the ones who had a scary monster, put a hand on your heart and say, I'm so sorry for you. No, I'm not pitying you. No, I don't want to hug you because you won't let me. But I would love to teach you ventral energy if you will be kind enough to bring forth your body and your brain in a healthy way. Self-regulate. Thanks so much. So that's where social engagement, it's a number of things, and being an anchor for those who will choose to stay themselves. That's who we get to work with, and that's who we get to bring home to themselves and to each other, and our humanity will evolve and expand as it always has. So fragmentation, reorganization, yes, and that's where cosmic karmic balancing always takes place. Old structures die away. There's no huge tower moments for those who are grounded in reality. Our kings and queens were 14 years of age. People wrote books without having certain other books. So, when stuff gets updated, just saying, nobody's surprised. So with that being said, we're going to have some more episodes on this lovely kryptonite topic, because I have a list of them thanks to Perplexity. I think I got like 8 more that are really fascinating. And in the meantime, let your friends know, the ones who want to be themselves under pressure and who are emotionally sovereign, about IHP on YouTube, TikTok, our Substack space, and Reddit, Quora, LinkedIn, you name it. You find me everywhere and anywhere. Well, not everywhere, but in most places online. So thanks for stopping by. And again, pay hip below for purchasing of journal prompts, inner growth mindset daily practices, Spotify, and other podcasts for paid subscriber based model content that is audio version primarily, but it could involve video podcast episodes. And there's a sample playlist on YouTube, so exercises, spotlights, and readings. And there's more to come for pay hip and Substack. So stay tuned. Have a good one.